Today, I'm gonna walk you through the resume I used to get an investment banking internship at Goldman. This resume ended up getting me interviews at Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, JPMorgan, etc. I'm gonna go over the purpose of a resume, the key criteria that recruiters look for, and how to structure your resume. At the end of this video, I'll also include a free resume template you can download. Purpose. The purpose of a resume is to show the hiring manager why you're the ideal fit for the role. You basically have about 10 to 30 seconds for them to see this all at a glance, that you understand the role and what you're getting yourself into, and that you have the motivation and the ability to succeed in the role. Key criteria. Before you start your resume, remember this quote. I'm paraphrasing. Basically, if you want people to understand you, try to understand them first. Go to the job spec, read the title, what the responsibilities are, really understand who the company is and what they want. Go to recruiting events and meet analysts, associates, VPs, and really understand what they do and what you need to be good at to succeed in their role. And so when you have that in mind, it'll be a lot easier to tailor your resume to show you can do those things to succeed. After my internship, I got asked to go back full-time to Goldman, and I was part of the Goldman Berkeley recruiting team. So basically, we would get a stack of resumes this thick from all the Berkeley candidates, and we would review them and vote on who should get a first-round interview. Everyone's working 80 to 100-hour weeks, so when they see your resume in the book, you probably only have about 10 seconds before they flip to the next one. Keep in mind that there's hundreds of candidates and they all have high GPAs and good work experience, so you really do need to stand out. The main things people look for are your GPA. Is it above a 3.7, ideally a 3.8 or higher? Does this person have relevant work experience? Have they been working in finance? Do they work in evaluation firms or at a boutique firm or in accounting? Have they shown that in their second year, their first year? The cherry on top would be, do they have cool extracurriculars? Do they show that they're passionate? Do they show that they're leaders at their schools? Resume structure. You want to list everything in order of importance, for the most important stuff going on top, least important on the bottom. I did it in 5 sections. The whole point of the header is it's a first impression, and you also give your contact details. Some people put their middle name. I like to not include it. Put your school email, so keep a professional email. These days, a lot of people only use LinkedIn when they look at candidates. So just make sure your LinkedIn is updated and reflects all the bullets and formatting of your resume. For fonts, I suggest using a straightforward professional font. Personally, I like using Garamond. The next section is education. I put my cumulative GPA and my business GPA. It's good to put both. Generally, you want to highlight the highest one. I put my SAT here because it's pretty high. If it's not super high, you don't need to include it. I personally didn't put coursework because I thought it took away from my work experience in GPA. But if it does help you, you can include it. For awards, only put them if they're super rare. If it's something that everyone gets, I wouldn't put it unless you really need to fill in the space. The next section will be your experience. For your experience, it's generally good to have everything listed in reverse chronological order, starting from the most recent experiences, going back to the earliest experiences. And if you didn't have a super specific official title, there is a little bit of leeway to tweak the title to fit the role a little more. For each section, generally the first line is the most important. Make sure you start with really strong action verbs. If you can, try to not reuse them, but in certain cases, I use manage twice here. It really goes back to understanding what they want for the role. And so you can go back to that job spec. Where did I analyze financial documents, perform analyses, make sure your bullets reflect that. So I have analyzed significant tax audit, performing analyses. You want to do clear and concise business writing. So you cut out all the words like I, the, instead of I constructed multiple pitch books and presentations. It's constructed multiple pitch books. For bullet length, generally you want to keep it to 1 line. If you have a bullet that's short, then it's just not going to look good. So you always want to fill it out all the way to the right margin as much as possible. I typically just write out all the numbers. Instead of spelling out 35, I wrote 35. And in terms of how much you can augment your bullets, I would say definitely be honest and never make anything up. But you can definitely highlight the best things that you did. And if you're enjoying this video, subscribe to my journey going from corporate to creative by pressing that subscribe button. For your extracurricular activities, I renamed mine leadership because I wanted to highlight that, but you could call them extracurriculars. The point of your extracurricular section is to showcase things that your GPA and work experience don't reflect. Your passion, your leadership abilities, your initiative. Go deep in a few orgs you care about and don't go so wide and spread yourself too thin. You don't want to just be a member of a bunch of clubs. You want to be the president or the VP of finance of a club you really care about. For bullets, I like to use this formula I call the AR formula. You basically talk about your action verb and the results. Here's an example. Spearheaded chapter's 50 member rush recruiting campaign, resulting in chapter record of 150 plus rush candidates. Organized and led motivational activities at chapter events to increase overall chapter attendance by over 15%. Start off with a strong action verb and then quantify the impact, which results in X% uplift or an uplift of X. In terms of tense, whether it's past or present, there's different ways to do it. I prefer to do all of it in the past tense if these are past experiences. If they are present experiences, I will have them in the present tense. So for example, when I worked at Wells Fargo, it was already a past experience. So I did everything in the past tense. And then when I was working at Styles Hall mentoring, it was a present experience. So I said coordinate tutoring sessions, recruit, interview, interact. The key is to be consistent with whatever you choose. Skills and interests. This is actually one of my favorite sections. It's actually a really important section. This point of the skills and interest section is to really highlight any relevant skills that you might have for the role. For example, if you were studying for your CFA, that'd be good to put. For your interest, the whole point is to show that you're a passionate, interesting, fun person to work with. And it's really a conversation starter. So put things here that you love, that you enjoy, and that you would want to talk about if an interviewer asked about it. Don't just put something that sounds cool that you can't really talk about. Just put stuff that you love and then you can talk about. So for example, I love Weezer. And if anyone asked me about Weezer, I would be able to talk about it for a long time and we'd probably become friends. Or like if they asked me about Prince, or if they asked me about playing electric guitar. Those are things I all really love. So yeah, it's just a way to showcase your personality and to be a great conversation starter. Getting to know your interviewer and them just liking you as a person goes a really long way in the process. After you've drafted out all the 5 sections, go look at your resume. In terms of number of bullets per experience, I typically liked 3 to 5 bullets per experience. And you'll want to make sure you balance it. So I had 3 for my BlackRock, my second year internship. I had 3 for this summer externship I did with Deloitte. I typically had 3 for most of them and 2 if they were a little less substantial. For the margins, make sure you adjust them so that it just looks good. They're evenly balanced from the top and bottom and evenly balanced from the left and right. Get at least 3 people to give you feedback. And ideally they are in finance or they've done banking. If not, anyone just reading it over and giving you their feedback will help. Make sure you proofread everything yourself at least 5 times. I probably proofread my resume about, 50, 100 times. Just make sure everything is locked in because this is the one shot you have of just showcasing what's awesome about you and why you're a great fit for the role. Generally just save it as my name-resume. Don't include things like Peter Sue-resume version 3 GS only. Always review the final output that you're sending to your client, in this case, which is the recruiter. If you want to download my banking resume template for free, you can find the link in the description below. If you want to hear what a typical day is like working in banking at Goldman, then check out this video here. And if you want to know why I left banking, then check out this video here. Do things that light you up. And if there's something that's scary and exciting for you, just go for it. Love yourself, love others, have an awesome day.